And hello, everybody. This is Andy with Libre. Our second vlog I didn't do yesterday, so already failed in the habit making process where you have to do something, what is it, 20 times in a row, 30 times in a row? Um, I tend not to think that way. I like to just think a day at a time. So in my head, I think, well, by the second time, it's a habit now. And then I keep going because I don't want to break the streak from two. We want to get to three. So, yeah, don't think that you have to do something 20 times in a row because that's almost setting I don't know, that's setting yourself up for the tomorrow me problem. Um, which you don't you start to think, oh well, 20 times in a week, or rather doing something 20 times in a row, that's pretty hard. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if tomorrow me can do that. Well, just or if tomorrow me, if the 20th tomorrow of me, uh, yeah, vlogging is hard. You get into your head and you start thinking, and you're trying to get words out. You're trying to think stuff. But yeah, we're gonna get better. The more you do stuff, I guess the better you get at it. Anyway, got sidetracked this time. I think I will every time. Anyway, um, speaking of difficulty of vlogs, the first one I did, which was 2 days ago, I did want to talk about what got us to this point to vlogging. Um, and really it was the everything started when I got into Bitcoin, which was in 2013, I believe. Um, and it's funny because I got into Bitcoin wanting to invest my money into something. Um, there is the idea that everyone that's getting ahead, or rather everybody that's accumulating wealth in anything that's going to serve them in the future, um, there's this idea that you have to get into stocks or you have to get into there's very few assets that we hear about that allow people to get into to become wealthy later. And the unfortunate thing about most assets is you have to come in at a high price point. And to me, that seems very anti just antithetical to the whole thing. I mean, why can't I be um, what's the word, benefited from just putting aside $10 a week? Stocks don't allow for that, especially if the stock is valuable. It's a $50 stock. What if you don't have the money to put in 50 at a time? Um, of course, you could just be saving the $10 um, for 5 weeks, or rather for five paychecks, and then you'd have your 50. But see, the inherent issue there is that a month and a half, or nearly a month and a half, has already passed you by before you've been able to actually invest that money. And this is obviously a segue to Bitcoin, where the idea that anytime I get any money, I could put it into an asset. Doesn't matter how much I put, that money will work for me. That money will work for you moving into the future. Obviously, be very careful what cryptos you put any money into. This isn't a financial advice channel. Um, but yeah, all of this was to say that I got into Bitcoin and crypto because I was trying to put some money aside. And so this episode, or this vlog, I think I'm going to title um, why be Libre, why a podcast. And I think it's funny because before I started the podcast, I thought that there was nothing I could bring of value into this space, um, just because everybody that's already involved in the crypto space just seems just miles and miles, you know, deep into many of the topics that make up crypto. Um, and it might seem really hard to, in my mind, I was like, well, what could I possibly bring of value into a space like this? And, thinking now, that was such a silly way to think. Everybody has value. Everybody has something of value. Everybody's ideas are valid, even if the premise is incorrect, because then you try knocking on the door of other issues or other arguments that might have maybe not so solid premises either. But now I'm getting philosophical. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with just talking out into the ether and hoping somebody out there listens and will talk with you and share their ideas. So really, the podcast in its essence um, is a sharing of ideas. So everybody that we've had on the podcast up till now, I'm extremely everybody had something to share. Everybody had a perspective that I think was worth talking about and listening to. Um, listening listening is awesome. The ability to hear things. I don't know. It must be really difficult for people that can't hear, just because I can go throughout my day doing several things, um, like chores mostly, and still listen and still be accumulating knowledge, listening to people's ideas and thoughts. So that's why I thought that the podcast was the easiest way to share stuff. This vlogging thing is a foray into really it's a foray into quickly getting information out there. Putting a face behind words is usually good. You usually want to know who's saying things, and I'm just realizing that I'm recording this in vertical again. So I didn't learn from the first mistake I made. Maybe second time or third, rather, maybe the third time's the charm. Maybe I'll do it this way. Let's see. Can I just do it within the same video? Does that break the internet? We'll find out. Uh, so yeah, this is my humble abode. If you can see behind me, we've got Gucci the plant in the background. Chelsea, my girlfriend, thought it was a good idea to name plants after expensive brands. I think it's silly, but that's Gucci back there. Uh, so yeah, where were we? Moving on. After the idea of making the podcast, these vlogs are just a natural segue because again the face, showing a face is usually good behind ideas, and also because I could quickly get my ideas out there, and I think that's very valuable, because it's so easy to put a video up, whereas trying to curate a meaningful podcast takes some time. You have to find somebody, sit down, talk to them, and then take the time to edit. I guess all the ums and ands, as many as you can. Obviously, some are gonna come through. Otherwise, it'd take you 24 hours to do one podcast editing session. But yeah, this has been the second vlog. I got to talk a little bit about why it's here, why vlogging is now happening for Be Libre. I can't wait for Alex to record something and put it up. He's actually preparing for the Miami Bitcoin conference. And I think that's one of the first conferences he ever went to. So I'm really curious to know and to hear from him once he's come back how much it's changed from the first time. Maybe the environment has changed a bit, or the feelings, the thoughts. My guess it's just going to be bringing in new ideas, new crypto projects into the fold, but the same feeling, the same excitement for crypto is going to be there. Obviously, the market feels the same. Obviously, the market has emboldened anybody already in this space to keep pushing. It's been a couple of wild years, but apparently our work is showing something. And yes, everybody that is putting any time into crypto is getting a benefit. Whether it's sharing ideas, sharing or debunking FUD out there, because there's plenty of that. But yeah, we're all being rewarded, and this is exciting. That's the end of this vlog. Andy out.